Welcome to my channel. Today, I will tell you the real story of a man who became one of the most respected business leaders in the world, not only because of money, but because of his kindness, honesty, and vision. Have you heard of Ratan Tata? His name is not just connected to cars, steel, or companies. His life is a journey full of struggles, dreams, and values that made him different from many other rich people. And I promise you, if you stay with me till the end, you will not only learn English with this story, but you will also feel inspired deep in your heart. Now let me ask you a question. When you think of a rich person, what comes to your mind? Maybe big houses, private jets, luxury cars, or a glamorous life. But Ratan Tata is not like that. Even though he belongs to one of the wealthiest families in India, and even though he became the leader of a giant business group, his life was never about showing off. His life was about giving, about building, and about caring for people. That is why even today, millions of people do not see him as just a businessman. They see him as a symbol of honesty and hope. But it was not easy for him. His journey was full of ups and downs, of moments when people doubted him, and times when he stood alone against criticism. From a lonely childhood to becoming the head of the Tata Group, from facing failures in business to creating global success stories. His life is a lesson for all of us. It is a story that shows us that money can give you power, but values give you respect. So stay with me, because in the next chapters, I will take you step by step into his life. You will see how he faced challenges, how he made big decisions, and how he always chose humanity over greed. And as you listen, you will not just learn about him. You will also learn how to live with courage and kindness in your own life. Chapter 1. Childhood and Early Struggles. Ratan Tata was born in 1937 in the busy city of Mumbai, India. At first, his life looked like the life of a child born in a rich family. He was a part of the great Tata family, one of the wealthiest and most respected families in India. Many people would think that a child born into such a family would have everything: love, comfort, and happiness. But in reality, his childhood was not easy. In fact, it was full of pain and struggle that touched his heart and shaped the person he later became. When Rattan was just 10 years old, something happened that changed his world forever. His parents separated. His mother and father could not stay together, and this broke the family apart. For any child, parents are like two strong hands that protect you from the world. But when those hands let go, the child feels lost. Ratan Tata felt this loss deeply. He was very young, but he understood what it meant to be alone. He felt the sting of rejection, the sadness of not having a complete family, and the emptiness that many children of divorce know too well. This part of his story is important because it shows us that even people who later become great leaders start with struggles that test their hearts. After the separation, Ratan Tata and his younger brother were raised by their grandmother, Lady Navashbai Tata. She became both a mother and a father to him. She gave him discipline, but also gave him love. She taught him values, honesty, humility, and respect for others. She showed him that wealth is not just about money. It is also about character. These lessons from his grandmother stayed with him forever. If you ever wonder why Ratan Tata is known as a kind and simple man, the answer begins here, in the care and guidance of his grandmother. But even though he was from a respected family, life was not always easy for young Rattan. He often felt lonely. At school, he sometimes faced rejection because of his broken family. Children can be cruel, and many of them looked at him differently. He was quiet, reserved, and sensitive. He carried his pain inside, without showing it much. This loneliness became his silent teacher. It made him strong inside. It made him understand the feelings of others who are left out or judged. And later, when he became a leader, this empathy, this ability to feel the pain of others, was one of his greatest strengths. Despite these struggles, Rattan Tata worked hard in school. He was bright, curious, and loved to learn. His interest in design and building led him to dream about architecture. He wanted to create, to build things that were useful and beautiful. This dream took him far from India, across the oceans, to America. He joined Cornell University, one of the most famous universities in the world, and studied architecture. Imagine this young man, who had faced loneliness and struggle, now walking across the wide green lawns of an American university, full of energy and ambition. It was a big change, a big opportunity, and he took it with courage. In America, he not only studied but also worked small jobs to support himself. He did not depend only on family wealth. He wanted to make his own way. This shows us another important lesson. Real dignity comes not from what you are born into, but from what you build with your own hands. His time at Cornell taught him independence, discipline, and the value of hard work. But here is the question that makes his story so powerful. After studying in America, after living in comfort, after having the chance to build a safe and successful career there, why did Rattan Tata return to India? Why did he not stay in America, where life was easy, opportunities were endless, and nobody would question him? Most young people, if given such a chance, would stay. But Rattan Tata chose differently. He chose to come back to India, to serve his country, and to continue the legacy of the Tata family. This moment is a big curiosity point in his life. It makes us ask, what was in his heart that pulled him back? Was it duty? Was it love for his country? Or was it the voice of his grandmother, reminding him that true success is not about personal comfort, but about what you give back to the people who need you? As we move into the next chapter, we will see how his return to India was not the end of his struggles, but the beginning of a new journey. A journey where he had to prove himself in front of critics, face doubt, and slowly rise to become the leader we admire today. His story shows us that even when life gives you pain in the beginning, you can turn that pain into strength. Rattan Tata's early life was not about luxury. It was about lessons. And those lessons became the foundation of the man he would one day become. Chapter 2. Entering the Tata Group. When Rattan Tata returned to India after completing his studies in America, he could have chosen an easy life. He had a degree from Cornell University. He had talent, and he could have stayed abroad, enjoying comfort and security. But his heart told him to come back, to contribute to his family's legacy, and to serve his country. This decision was not the end of his challenges. In fact, it was just the beginning of his test. His first job in the Tata Group was not in a big office with air conditioning, leather chairs, and assistants running around. No, his journey began in Tata Steel, in Jamshedpur, and not in the office, but on the factory floor. Imagine a young man from a rich and respected family, wearing a helmet, standing beside workers, covered in sweat, dirt, and dust. He was not treated like a prince. He worked like any ordinary worker, learning the processes, touching the machines, and even doing hard physical tasks. This was his training ground. This period of his life was an emotional spike. It showed that true leadership does not begin in comfort, but in discomfort. Rattan Tata stood under the hot sun, walked with the workers, ate with them, and listened to their problems. He did not demand special treatment. He wanted to know the real challenges of the people who built the company from the ground up. This humility made him different. It was here that he learned the true value of hard work. When you sweat for something, when you share the struggle of the people around you, you respect the work more deeply. But the path was not easy. Many people in the Tata group, especially the older generation, looked at Rattan Tata and thought he was soft. They doubted his ability. They whispered that he was too quiet, too gentle, and not strong enough to handle the tough world of business. Some said he did not have the sharpness of a businessman, that he could never lead such a giant group of companies. Their doubts hurt, but Rattan Tata did not answer with arguments. He answered with action. Imagine being in his position. You are part of a famous family. Yet people inside that very family and company question your strength. Most people would feel broken or angry, but Rattan Tata chose patience. He knew that respect is not demanded, it is earned. He understood that leadership is not about shouting loudly, but about proving quietly. He was ready to wait, to learn, and to grow. Every day in Tata Steel, he learned something new. He learned how machines worked, how workers felt, and how small decisions affected big outcomes. These experiences built his foundation. Later, when he became the chairman, people often wondered how he understood both business and people so well. The answer lies in these early days, when he walked among workers, not among kings. He had seen sweat, he had seen pain, and he had felt the heartbeat of the company from its core. But the big question remained. How would this quiet man prove himself in front of his critics? How would he show that he had the strength to not only work hard, but also to lead? That curiosity kept growing, and it kept people watching his journey closely. The truth is, Rattan Tata did not rush. He did not try to take shortcuts. He spent years moving from one part of the Tata Group to another, learning slowly, step by step. He worked in different businesses, from textiles to chemicals, from hotels to engineering. At each step, people doubted him, but at each step, he absorbed knowledge like a sponge. He was not in a hurry to become a leader. He was in a hurry to learn. And this attitude, this patience, is what prepared him for the future. Later, when the time came, this same man who had once been called soft would face huge challenges. He would face criticism not just from his colleagues, but from the whole business world. And yet, the lessons he learned in Jamshedpur, on the factory floor, would guide him. He knew what it meant to struggle, he knew what it meant to work hard, and he knew what it meant to stay humble. So, when we look back at Rattan Tata's journey, we see that his true education did not end at Cornell University. It began again when he entered the Tata Group, not as a boss, but as a worker. That is what made him unique. Many leaders start at the top, but he chose to start at the bottom. And that made all the difference. As we move into the next chapter, you will see how life suddenly tested him in a bigger way. He was finally chosen as the successor of the great J.R.D. Tata, the man who had led the group with vision and strength. But when Rattan Tata became chairman in 1991, things did not go smoothly. Instead of applause, he was met with doubt, criticism, and even mockery. The world did not welcome him warmly. And yet, those early days in Jamshedpur, those days of sweat and struggle, gave him the courage to stand strong. The story is about to take a sharp turn. Will the quiet man rise, or will he fall? Stay with me, because the next chapter will show you how Rattan Tata stepped into one of the toughest roles in business history, and how he faced storms that could have destroyed him. Chapter 3. Becoming the chairman in the history of the Tata Group. One name shines like a guiding star, J.R.D. Tata. He was the man who built the group into a giant, who created Air India, and who gave the Tata name global respect. People loved him, admired him, and almost worshipped him as a leader. So when the time came in 1991 for J.R.D. Tata to choose his successor, everyone waited with curiosity and suspense. Who would take the place of such a great man? To the surprise of many, J.R.D. chose Rattan Tata. It was a decision that shocked many inside and outside the Tata Group. Rattan was quiet, reserved, and not seen as aggressive or sharp like other businessmen of that time. Some people clapped politely, but behind closed doors, many were whispering. Could this soft-spoken man really lead such a vast empire of companies? The emotional spike came quickly. Instead of celebrating, many people laughed at the decision. Some said openly that Rattan Tata would fail. Even the stock market reacted negatively. The value of Tata companies went down because investors did not trust his ability. Imagine the pain, becoming the chairman of one of India's greatest business groups. But instead of respect, you received doubt, criticism, and mockery. Even some members of the Tata family did not support him. They believed he was not the right person. But Rattan Tata did not fight with anger. He did not raise his voice to prove his power. He remained calm, patient, and determined. He believed that time would give the answer, not arguments. He knew that leadership is not about shouting loudly in the beginning. It is about showing results in the long run. At that time, many Tata companies were struggling. Some were making losses. Some were old-fashioned and not ready for the modern world. Crisis after crisis came to his table. Many leaders would have panicked. Many would have chosen the easy path of selling businesses or cutting jobs quickly to please the market. But Rattan Tata had a different vision. He was not interested in short-term profits. He was focused on long-term values. He believed that the Tata Group must stand for trust, for quality, and for service to people. He wanted to clean up the group, modernize it, and make it stronger, not just for 1 or 2 years, but for decades to come. This long-term thinking was not popular in the business world, where most people only cared about quick money. But Rattan Tata was not like most people. Still, the pressure on him was huge. Every newspaper, every business magazine, every critic was watching closely. Would he fail or rise? That was the question everyone asked. The curiosity around him was intense. People waited for him to make mistakes. Some almost hoped he would stumble so they could say, "We told you so." But deep inside, Rattan Tata had something stronger than fear. He had determination. He had patience. He had faith in the values he learned from his grandmother, from his time at Tata Steel, and from the teachings of J.R.D. Tata. One of the biggest challenges he faced was uniting the Tata Group. At that time, the group had many companies, but they did not work as one family. Each had its own bosses, its own ways, and some did not even respect the central leadership. Rattan Tata wanted to bring unity. He wanted the companies to use the Tata name with pride, but also with responsibility. This was not easy. It meant facing resistance, breaking old traditions, and making tough decisions. But he did it step by step, slowly but surely. The early years of his leadership were not about glory. They were about cleaning, restructuring, and building a new foundation. He removed weak leaders, encouraged young talent, and pushed the group into new areas. He knew it would take time for people to see results, but he was not afraid of waiting. This is where his calmness made the difference. A weaker man would have broken under criticism. A greedy man would have chased quick profits to silence critics. But Rattan Tata was neither weak nor greedy. He stayed steady, like a mountain standing against a storm. And as the years passed, people slowly began to notice. They saw that he did not run away from problems. They saw that he made decisions with honesty, not with selfishness. They saw that he was not there to enjoy power, but to serve the Tata legacy with dignity. Slowly, the laughter turned into silence, and that silence would later turn into respect. But at this stage of the story, nothing was easy. Every step was a test. Every decision was a battle. The world was still waiting. Would this quiet man truly rise as a leader? Or would he collapse under the weight of the Tata Empire? That question kept hanging in the air, like a shadow over his head. In the next chapter, you will see how Rattan Tata faced some of the boldest challenges of his career. He would take risks that looked foolish to many people. He would make decisions that shocked the business world. And in doing so, he would begin to change the image of the Tata Group forever. Chapter 4: Big Achievements and Bold Risks. By the late 1990s, Rattan Tata had already shown his calmness and strength as a leader. He had survived the early years of doubt and criticism. But true leadership is not only about surviving. It is about creating something new, something bold, something that can inspire millions. And this is where Rattan Tata began to take big steps, steps that many people thought were too risky, even foolish. One of his first big dreams was to create a car that was truly Indian. Until then, India had many cars, but most of them were designed or built with the help of foreign companies. Rattan Tata wanted to change that. He wanted a car that was made in India by Indians for Indians. And so, the Tata Indica was born. It was India's first indigenously developed car. When it was launched, the entire country looked at it with pride. Here was a car that was not copied, not borrowed, but truly ours. But soon, reality hit hard. The first version of the Indica had problems. Customers complained, sales went down, and critics laughed. This is why India should not dream of making cars, some said. The emotional spike was painful. For Rattan Tata, this was more than a business setback. It was a wound to his vision, a wound to his belief in Indian talent. Many leaders would have stopped, accepted defeat, and moved on. But Rattan Tata was different. He never gave up. Instead of closing the project, he went back to work. He listened to the feedback, improved the design, fixed the problems, and launched the Indica again. This time it worked. The car became popular, sales grew, and critics became quiet. The Indica showed the world that Indians could dream, fail, and rise again. It also showed the strength of Rattan Tata's character. Failure did not break him. It only made him stronger. But the Indica was just the beginning. Rattan Tata wanted the Tata Group to stand tall on the world stage, not just in India. And so, he began a series of bold moves that shocked the business world. One of the first was the acquisition of Tetley Tea, a famous British tea company. For many people, the idea of an Indian company buying a British company was unthinkable. But Rattan Tata made it happen. Tetley became part of Tata, and suddenly the group had a strong presence in the global market. Then came another shock. In 2008, Rattan Tata announced that Tata Motors was buying Jaguar Land Rover, two of the most iconic British car brands. The world could not believe it. Jaguar and Land Rover were symbols of luxury and power. How could an Indian company, especially one known for affordable cars like Indica, manage such elite brands? People laughed again. Some said it was madness. Others said it would destroy Tata Motors. Even experts in the auto industry predicted failure. The emotional spike was intense. Rattan Tata was once again called crazy, but he stayed calm, just as he always did. He trusted his team, he trusted his vision, and he trusted the idea that respect is earned when you dare to take risks. And then came the surprise. Within a few years, Jaguar Land Rover turned around. Under Tata's ownership, the brands became profitable again. New models were launched, sales grew. And the critics who once mocked Rattan Tata now admired him. The world saw that he had not only saved these legendary brands, but had also made them shine brighter. This was a turning point for the Tata Group. No longer were they seen as just an Indian company. They were seen as a global player. But in the middle of all these achievements, there was still one dream in Rattan Tata's heart. It was not about luxury, not about global fame, but about ordinary people in India. This dream came from a simple moment he once witnessed. He saw a family of four riding on a scooter, a father driving, a mother holding a small child, and another child squeezed between them. It was raining, it was dangerous, and it was heartbreaking. Rattan Tata thought, every family deserves a safe and affordable car. That thought became his dream project, the dream of creating the world's cheapest car, a car for the common man. But would this dream succeed? Or would it bring him another painful setback? That is the question we will explore in the next chapter. So far, we have seen Rattan Tata face failure with the Indica and rise again. We have seen him shock the world with Tetley Tea and Jaguar Land Rover. We have seen him called crazy and then proven right. But now, the story takes another emotional turn. Because sometimes, even the noblest dreams do not go as planned. Stay with me, because in the next chapter, you will see the story of the Nano, the car that made headlines around the world, not just for its price, but for the deep humanity behind it. Chapter 5. The Nano Dream. Every leader has one dream that becomes the heart of their life story. For Rattan Tata, that dream was not about becoming the richest businessman in the world. It was not about owning luxury brands or building tall towers. His dream was about something very simple, something very human. He wanted to give dignity, safety, and comfort to ordinary families in India. And this dream gave birth to one of the most talked about cars in the history of the world, the Tata Nano. The idea for the Nano did not come from a boardroom meeting or a business report. It came from a rainy street in India. One day, Rattan Tata saw a family of four riding on a scooter. The father was driving, the mother was sitting at the back holding a small child, and another child was squeezed in between them. It was raining, the road was slippery, and the family was struggling. At that moment, Rattan Tata thought, this is not safe. They deserve something better. That simple thought, they deserve better, was the emotional spark that started his dream. Rattan Tata asked himself, why should a car only be for the rich? Why can't every family, even those with small incomes, have a car? A car that keeps them safe from rain, heat, and danger. A car that gives them dignity on the road. That is when he decided to build the world's cheapest car, a car that would cost less than 1 lakh rupees, around $2,000 at the time. People laughed at the idea. They said it was impossible. They said no company in the world could make a car at such a low price. But Rattan Tata was not discouraged. He said simply, it can be done, and we will do it. After years of hard work, designing, testing, and building, the Tata Nano was finally launched in 2008. It was introduced as the people's car. The entire world turned its eyes to India. Newspapers called it revolutionary. Some called it the 1 lakh car. There was excitement, pride, and hope. Ordinary families felt that maybe, for the first time, they too could dream of owning a car. It was not just a product launch. It was an emotional moment for millions of Indians. But then came the struggles. The Nano faced criticism from the very beginning. Some people mocked it as the cheapest car, as if being affordable was something to be ashamed of. There were reports of technical problems, and a few cars even caught fire. Media used those incidents to attack the project. Sales did not grow as expected. The dream car slowly became a symbol of failure in the eyes of many critics. For Rattan Tata, this was a painful emotional spike. He had built the Nano not for profit, but for people. Yet it was being rejected. And yet, even in this setback, there was nobility. Because the Nano was never about money. If it had been about money, Rattan Tata would have built another luxury car. Another big project for the rich. But he chose differently. He chose to think of the family on the scooter, the family that deserved dignity and safety. He tried to make a car that was within their reach. That is why the Nano, even though it failed in sales, will always remain one of the most beautiful dreams in business history. It was not a car of profit. It was a car of compassion. The Nano story teaches us a powerful lesson. Sometimes dreams do not succeed in the market, but they succeed in touching hearts. And in the end, what matters more, money or meaning? Rattan Tata showed that meaning matters more. He showed that leadership is not about always winning, but about daring to dream for others. But this raises a powerful curiosity question. If the Nano did not succeed, if it faced problems and failures, then what made Rattan Tata so respected? Why do people still admire him more than many other billionaires who only think of profits? The answer lies not in the Nano's sales figures, but in the heart behind it. People respected Rattan Tata because he was not afraid to dream for others. He was not afraid to care. He showed the world that a true leader thinks beyond himself. And this brings us to the final chapter of his story, his legacy. Because Rattan Tata's greatness is not measured in cars, companies, or profits. It is measured in his humility, his kindness, and the way he touched people's lives. Stay with me, because in the next chapter, we will see how Rattan Tata, despite being one of the richest and most powerful men in India, lived a life of simplicity and humanity. His real legacy is not in wealth, but in wisdom, and that is why his story continues to inspire millions even today. Chapter 6: Legacy, Humility, and Lessons. When we look at the life of Rattan Tata, we see achievements, we see big companies, and we see bold decisions. But if you ask people what they admire the most about him, the answer is not just his business success. The answer is his humility. Rattan Tata lived a life that was very different from what most billionaires live. He had wealth, power, and respect, but he never let these things control him. He lived simply, without ego, without pride, and always with kindness in his heart. Unlike many rich leaders, Rattan Tata never surrounded himself with unnecessary luxury. He did not build giant palaces to live in. He did not walk around with bodyguards and show off his power. Instead, he lived quietly, often traveling alone, sometimes even driving his own car. Imagine a man with billions of dollars, sitting quietly in the back seat of a simple car, or even choosing to fly economy class sometimes. These are not things you expect from a business tycoon, but they were natural for Rattan Tata. One emotional moment that shows his character is how he treated workers. He never looked down on anyone, no matter their position. He could sit with factory workers, eat with them, and listen to their problems. He could shake hands with a janitor as easily as with a minister. This humility made people love him. Workers did not see him only as their boss. They saw him as someone who respected them as human beings. But Rattan Tata's humility was not just about his personal life. It was also about what he did with his wealth. A huge part of the Tata Group's profits goes to charity through Tata Trusts. These trusts work in education, healthcare, rural development, and many other areas. They build schools, hospitals, and opportunities for the poor. They touch lives in places where no one else goes. This is another reason why people admire Rattan Tata. His money was not only for himself. It was for the people. When the world saw billionaires chasing luxury and power, Rattan Tata showed a different path. He showed that true greatness is not in owning more, but in giving more. He became rich in respect because he chose to share his wealth with society. That is why, even after retirement, his name is spoken with love. People don't just see him as a businessman. They see him as a symbol of integrity and compassion. His true legacy, then, is not money. His true legacy is the inspiration he gave to millions of people. He inspired young entrepreneurs to dream big, but stay humble. He inspired workers to believe that their leaders could care for them. He inspired ordinary people by showing that kindness is possible, even in the world of business. For English learners like you, Rattan Tata's story also teaches important life lessons. The first lesson is that success is not about fast money. Many people today want instant success. They want to become rich quickly, without patience. But Rattan Tata's life shows that real success takes time. It takes values, patience, and service. If you build your life only on money, you may earn wealth, but not respect. But if you build your life on honesty, kindness, and service, you will earn both respect and happiness. The second lesson is about facing failure. Rattan Tata faced many failures, Indica's early problems, Nano sales issues, criticism from people. But he never gave up. He stayed calm, worked harder, and came back stronger. For learners, this is a reminder. When you fail in English, when you make mistakes in speaking, do not give up. Failure is not the end. It is the beginning of learning. The third lesson is about humility. No matter how much you achieve, stay humble. Speak kindly, treat others with respect, and never think you are above anyone. Just like Rattan Tata could sit with workers, you too can practice humility in your own life. It will make you not only a better learner, but also a better human being. And finally, the most important lesson is about service. Rattan Tata's life shows that success becomes meaningful only when you use it to serve others. When you give, you grow. When you share, you shine. That is why even today, people look at him with admiration and gratitude. And so we reach the final emotional truth of his story. People say you can be rich in money, but Rattan Tata is rich in humanity. That is the difference. Money can buy comfort, but humanity wins hearts. Money can build buildings, but humanity builds trust. Money can give you power, but humanity gives you love. This is why Rattan Tata's story is not just a business story. It is a human story. It teaches us how to dream, how to struggle, how to rise, and how to remain humble even when we reach the top. His story is a lesson not just for businessmen, but for all of us, for students, for workers, for dreamers, and for English learners like you. So, whenever you feel lost, whenever you wonder what real success means, remember Rattan Tata. Remember his humility, his kindness, and his courage. And let his story inspire you to build a life not just of wealth, but of wisdom. If this video inspired you with the real story of Rattan Tata, give it a like right now. And if you are ready to learn more life-changing stories in simple English, write in the comments. I will learn with stories. I will reply to you, and I will cheer you on in your journey. Remember, learning English is not only about grammar or words. It is about learning ideas, emotions, and wisdom that stay with you forever. Rattan Tata's story teaches us that success is not about fast money, but about patience, honesty, and kindness. That is the same way you can learn English, step by step, with practice and courage. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more easy and powerful English lessons. Lessons that not only teach you the language, but also open your heart, give you confidence, and guide you in life. Together, we will grow in English and in wisdom.